Hello again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today, it's a special anniversary. Today, I don't know if you can see it in the title or not. I don't know how much space I have to write these titles on YouTube. They only allow 100 characters. I don't know if I can fit all in. But today, it's my 40th anniversary of going to concerts. That's right, my first ever concert was on April 25th, 1984. If you do the math, you will find that that is indeed 40 years. You can fact check me on that if you want. Go back and get your calendar from 1984 if you still have it. So I'm going to talk about my first concert ever, which was Ozzy on the Bark at the Moon tour. And hey, while I'm at it, I may as well get in an episode of this series that I'm doing and talk about the album Bark at the Moon, and maybe something else too. But before I get to that, I'll talk a little bit first about, just very quickly, and by the way, this episode was kind of, it wasn't quite a request, but it was a suggestion or a recommendation. I'll try to mention that too. But first, just very briefly, unrelated to Ozzy or anything like that, I went to see Bruce Dickinson the other night in Mexico City, and it was fantastic. It was really, really good. The sound, I'd only been in that venue, it was at the Pepsi Center, which is in the World Trade Center in Mexico City. It's a very, very nice venue. You know, it's a corporate venue, so you don't want to be too nice about it, right? You know, everybody likes CBGBs and the old dirty places that have character. And Pepsi Center doesn't have any character, but it's a very, very nice venue. I'd only been there once before. Excuse me, I saw Gene Simmons there in 2017 and now Bruce Dickinson. So funny that the two times I've been there, it's been to see artists who are playing solo from bands that I really like. And the sound was incredible. It was really, really good. I could hear every single instrument. He has two guitarists. He has a keytarist. He switched. The keytarist was about half the songs he was on the keytar on the stage, and then the other half he was on the standard keyboard up behind beside the drums. Anyway, yeah, you could hear everything. You could hear you could pick each guitar out, and I was up at the balcony at the back, and it sounded great. Strange thing about that, up in the balcony. It's 3 sections wide, and this venue, Bruce on stage, he said something like, here I am with 4,000 or 5,000 people. I don't think there's any way it's 5,000 people. I don't even, think it's 4,000. I was thinking in my head, it's maybe 2,000 or 3,000. Anyway, the balcony up at the top maybe only holds 200-300 people, and I was in row I, which is 9, and there were about 3 or 4 rows behind me. So it's, I guess, somewhere around 12, 13 rows, and I don't know how wide, but anyway, my point being that all the seats up there are all like, they're like seats at a movie theater. They're really, really thick, cushiony. The back end, the seated part is very cushiony. The armrest that you can, fold, put them up or put them down, and there's lots of leg space and everything, which was kind of funny because it led to a very unique concert experience. Nobody, I don't think at any point through that whole concert was standing up, and Bruce played for an hour and 50 minutes. The floor is all standing room, but nobody in the balcony stood up at any point. It's just kind of when you're in a chair like that, you feel like, I'm good, I don't need to stand up. So that made for a little bit difference. There were a couple of guys, really, really headbanging, but they were seated, and seated headbanging is a little bit strange. But anyway, I just wanted to show how much I loved seeing this Bruce Dickinson concert the other night in Mexico City. Now, to get to Ozzy, a few things, and this is probably going to be a little bit long, so maybe you need a chair like at the World Trade Center to get comfortable if you're planning on watching the whole thing, Mike Pratt. This was a request, or as I said, a suggestion from my friend Dallas, maybe 3 months ago. He said, you should talk about your first concert. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea, but I don't want to do just an episode of that. So I bought Bark at the Moon a couple of months ago and sat on it just to do this episode now. So thank you to Dallas for that most excellent idea. So here I am. And kind of funny timing too, because just the other day, it was announced, he wasn't inducted, but it was announced that he was going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know when that ceremony is, sometime in the summer, I think. And he was already in there as a member of Black Sabbath, of course, but now he's going to be inducted as a solo artist. And I definitely don't want to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Some love it, some hate it. Actually, I think everybody hates it. I really, really am not interested in having this discussion of who should be in or who shouldn't and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, they make some questionable decisions, either to put people in or to keep them out. And that's the way they run their business, and to me, it doesn't really make a difference. If you love Iron Maiden and they're not in there, that shouldn't really affect your life. But anyway, Ozzy is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist, so I guess good for him. Now, this my experience at this concert, and I do have the ticket. Here is the ticket. There it is. Ozzy. Was it a Wednesday? Wednesday, April 25th, 1984 at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. And if you can see, I wrote in here that Rat opened it. Sometimes, I've talked about this before, sometimes the opening band was printed on the ticket, sometimes it wasn't. I don't know why. I don't know if that was a contractual thing or a promoter thing, but Rat opened. And a little story about Rat opening was it was supposed to be Slade. Slade was opening on this on the Bark at the Moon tour, I guess prior to this. And I was excited to see Slade because at that time I only knew Run Run Away, and I loved that song. That song was all over. You couldn't escape that song. In the early part of '84, maybe late '83, the video was on all the time. The song Run Away was on the radio all the time. And I thought, cool. And then they changed it a couple weeks before. They said, okay, Slade isn't, I think Noddy Holder had some throat trouble or something. So they said, Rat is going to open. I had no idea who Rat was at that time. I ended up becoming a massive, and still am a massive Rat fan. So really, Rat was the first band that I ever saw, but Ozzy was my first concert. And I didn't meet, but I saw Robin Crosby outside shortly before the show, outside Maple Leaf Gardens. I was with... I'll talk about who I was with shortly, but we saw this big tall guy with big blonde hair. There were a bunch of girls and maybe some guys talking to him outside Maple Leaf Gardens, and didn't know who he was. And then when they started playing, we went in and Rat was playing, and like an hour later or wherever it was, and we saw that we said, that's that guy, that guitarist, that's the guy we saw outside in the street. So there's my story with Robin Crosby and Rat, and I never saw Rat again, despite them being one of my favorite bands ever. So this concert I went to with my friends Rod Pittman, Chris Kambakos, and Phil Burkett. The four of us went. We all went to school together. I was in grade 8th grade, as some Americans would say. And I don't know, I can't remember how it came to be. I know it wasn't my idea and these guys, Rod Pittman, he was a good friend of mine, Chris Kambakos and Phil Burkett. Chris was a friend of mine. Phil, I kind of knew him, or we knew each other, but we weren't good friends. I think Chris and Phil were good friends, and I don't know how it came up, but I feel like it was Chris who said, hey, let's go see Ozzy. It definitely wasn't me. And so somehow the four of us, I never did anything with Phil before that or after that. Chris did some things with Chris after that. Rod was a good friend of mine into the first year or two of high school after that. So I don't know how it came, but we got the tickets. I think this was when tickets only went on sale maybe 2 months before before the concert was going to happen. Now it's like 2 years. Metallica is playing here in September. Tickets went on sale in like October, November 2022, 2 years in advance. So we went to the concert, the four of us. We lived in Scarborough, which is in the east end of Toronto. The concert was at Maple Leaf Gardens, which is downtown Toronto. And to get there, we have to walk to the bus station, the 54 bus or 54A bus on Lawrence Avenue East at the corner of, I don't know why I'm saying this, at the corner of Lawrence Avenue and Charlottetown, I think it was, Boulevard. And so we have to take the 54A bus, transfer at Kingston Road, and then take the 86 or 86A bus to Kennedy subway station, and then took Kennedy subway station to Yonge and Bloor subway station, and then transfer and go south to College Station, and then got out. And oh my God, I can remember I was in, and you know what? We got a bottle of rum. I have no idea how this happened, but when I met up with my friends, I guess it was Chris, he said, hey, look at this. And he had a bottle of Bacardi rum. I have no idea how he got it. I don't know if he stole it from his parents or if he, back then you could just stand outside the liquor store and ask somebody, an adult going in, hey, can you buy me a bottle? And it was no problem. Can't do that anymore. But we somehow had a bottle of Bacardi rum that we drank. I guess, I'm not sure, I don't even remember where we drank it or how or whatever, but we were 14 and I guess rock and roll rebels. We didn't care. So we were, drinking some rum. We went downtown, and I remember getting out of the subway and being at the corner of Yonge and Carlton, which is just a half a block from where Maple Leaf Gardens was. And I was just, the feeling that I got was just incredible. Seeing everybody wearing Ozzy shirts and Black Sabbath shirts and, you know, whatever other bands people were wearing at the time. And it's just this great feeling of an excitement and, oh my God, I'm at a concert. At this point, I've been listening to music really seriously, I guess, for about 8 years. I got into Kiss in 1976, so this was 8 years later. And I was finally going to my first concert. And I remember just going up, I was such a stupid kid, and going up to everybody, people who were wearing Ozzy shirts, and I'd say, "Are you going to Ozzy?" And they'd say, "Yeah." "Oh, me too, right on." And I don't know if you high-fived them or whatever you did. And God, I was going up to everybody, "Yeah, I'm going to the concert too. Where are you sitting?" "Oh, I'm sitting here, blah, blah, blah." And maybe we ran into some other friends, and we went to eat at, I want to say McDonald's. I remember where the restaurant was. It was on the northwest corner of Yonge, just a little bit north of, Yonge divides Carlton and College Street, somewhere there. I want to say it was McDonald's, and it was full of Ozzy fans, and I think we probably continued to drink the rum there. And I do have a prop. Now this is my first concert shirt that I got at a concert. The first rock shirt I ever had, believe it or not, was not Kiss, it was The Who. I had a Who shirt probably must have been 81 or 82. It was the It's Hard album cover, one of the Raglan, the black shirts with the 3/4 length white sleeve. I had a Who shirt. I bought that at Cedarbury Mall. And as I said, I guess that was 82. Yeah, It's Hard came out in 82. So this is my first shirt from a concert. And I can remember, I bought it from a guy. It was a bootleg. Still, I just bought a bootleg shirt at the Iron Maiden concert. The Bruce Dickinson concert the other day. I've always liked bootlegs. Maybe I'm cheap, or I don't know, but the shirt that I bought, which I'm going to show you here, well, there it is. There's me at 14 years old in my Ozzy shirt that I bought on April 25th, 1984, at my first concert ever, the Ozzy Bark the Moon. The Raglan, same style, the 3/4 length sleeve and black shirt. I remember this shirt. It was bad quality. I think maybe even after the first time it was washed, it got all stretched, and the bottom part of it became all not frayed, but all misshapen and everything. And I bought that shirt from a guy. He had them in a black garbage bag. That was how they used to do it back then. They would just carry their wares, their shirts in this case, in black garbage bags. I want to say it was $5. I don't remember, but it probably was $5. Probably the official shirts were $10. So it was, you were saving a lot of money back then. So that was my first concert shirt ever, and I was very excited to have it. But it was bad quality. Unlike now, where the bootlegs are better in some cases, and this is a fact. This is not, you can't dispute this. It's a fact that in some cases, in many cases, I would even say in most cases, bootlegs are just as good, sometimes better. The actual brand, if you look at the ticket, and this is a bootleg shirt too. This is from El Chopo, I think. I got this 5 or 6 years ago, and it's in great shape. What else? So we went to the concert, and I guess we were a little bit, I wasn't hammered out of my mind, but I was, we'd been drinking that bottle of Bacardi rum, and I remember, I guess this was during Rat, I don't know, it was probably during Rat, not Ozzy. I just remember thinking, I couldn't believe how loud it was, not just loud in my ears, but I could feel it in my chest. And I was sitting, Maple Leaf Gardens used to have, the seats were by color. The seats in the lower bowl, or in the closest to the ice level, or the floor for a concert, were gold, and then the next ones up were red, and then green, and then gray were basically the nosebleeds. And at Maple Leaf Gardens, at both ends, they were blue. And I had grays. I think we probably got the tickets fairly late. They had maybe been on sale for a while, so it was close to sold out. Gray 90. If you can see there, that was the section I sat in, gray 90. And so I was way up in the rafters almost, the nosebleeds. And so, you're pretty far from the stage. And I remember, I was in shock at how being that far from the stage, and because, at that point, my only exposure to what I thought was loud music was listening to it really loud on my headphones or on my little record player at home, or maybe my dad's stereo. So for me to be however far away I was from the stage and this up high, and I was going, my God, this is really, really loud. And so Ozzy opened that show and probably that tour, and I think he opened many tours or subsequent tours after with I Don't Know from Blizzard of Oz. And I was going crazy because this was really, I didn't know Rat. I only knew Round and Round at that point. And because it was played on the radio, I guess in the days or weeks leading up to that, they were playing Round and Round on Q107. And so we opened with I Don't Know, and I just remember I was like headbanging and I was like freaking out. And there was a guy sitting, I remember this, he was sitting over to my left, and we were looking at each other and singing. We were singing, "Don't ask me, I don't know," looking at each other and yeah. And it was so good. And I can remember after the concert when it ended, people, I guess the older, back then, they were probably 16, 17, 18, but they seemed like seasoned veterans, or veterans, some people say, complaining, saying, oh, that was it? That was a short concert? And I guess it was. I guess it was only looking at the set list. Since then it was like, Ozzy always played short songs. I think it was probably 13 songs that he played, but I do remember people, I don't know if they were complaining, but noting how short the show was. But I didn't care. I was just in, like, I thought this is what I really, really like. And now I've, gone to, I don't know how many concerts, 400, something like that. And the last time I saw Ozzy, I don't even remember. I saw him on the following tour. I saw him on the Ultimate Sin tour. And I saw him then on No Rest for the Wicked tour. That might have been the last time, just those 3 times on the three consecutive tours. And you know what else? Something else, when after that concert I went home. So we had to go in reverse. We had to take the 2 subways and then the 2 buses to get home, and then I had to walk home from the bus stop. And when I got home, my mother was waiting for me at the door, steaming mad. I guess it was late. I was 14. I had to go to school the next day, and she was really, really mad. And she said, I don't know if I was home later than she thought or later than I said it would be. I don't know, but I just remember she was really, really mad. And she said, "Are you drunk?" I said, "No." And she said, "Let me smell your breath." And in my head I was going, like, however you make the sign of the cross, I don't know what you do to make the sign of the cross, something like this. I didn't literally do that, but I was thinking, oh man, I'm dead. She got me. And so I gave her my breath, and she said, "Yeah, go to bed. You have school in the morning." And I don't know if she smelled it and just said, "Oh yeah, just get out of my sight," or if at that point it didn't smell like it anymore. But because I guess this was at least a couple of hours after the concert, so I almost got busted. Later that same year, when I saw Iron Maiden with Twisted Sister at the same building, Maple Leaf Gardens, in November 30th, 1984. The day after that concert, I had a pack of cigarettes. God, I used to smoke when I was 14 years old. I had a pack of cigarettes in my inside jacket pocket. And the day after the concert, the concert was on a Friday. This was on a Saturday. I was out with my friends, and I came home and I took my jacket off and I threw my jacket down. There was a chair in my parents' house, like at the front door, and I threw my jacket on the chair. And as I did, the cigarettes came flying. I think I've told this before. The cigarettes came flying out of my inside jacket pocket, and my parents were there in the living room. And it was like slow motion. I saw the pack of cigarettes flying across the room, and I was like, Costanza at the cockfight with Little Jerry Seinfeld. And, stop the fight, tamale, slow motion. I was like, no, cigarettes, I'm dead. And the cigarettes went flying across the room, and they landed on the floor. And my parents looked at them, and they looked at me, and I was like, fuck, I'm dead again. And that didn't turn out so well. So that was my smoking and drinking early days of concerts. It's a wonder I didn't end up as some kind of a delinquent or a degenerate or in jail or something. I've been a very good boy since then. So that was my experience with Ozzy. My very first concert, Bark at the Moon, April 25th, 1984, 40 years ago today. So now you know. So now I will talk about the album from this tour, Bark at the Moon. My overall thoughts on this album. I think at the time that I saw this tour, I think I didn't have Bark at the Moon. I know the song Bark at the Moon and the video was on all the time. You couldn't, that video, they had all these midweek Metal Mania shows and Toronto Rocks was a video show that used to play in Toronto, and this was before Much Music, and that song used to get played on the radio, Bark at the Moon, and I loved it. And I did have Diary of a Madman, and was a big, and was, already into Black Sabbath for a few years, I guess about 4 years at that point. So, I was very excited to go. But this album, when I did first get it, I had it on cassette for some reason. I don't know why. I think I've talked about this before. I always hated cassettes, and I had maybe I had 20 or 30 in my life total. I used to like cassettes to tape from the radio, and occasionally tape. My friend had a record, he would give it to me, and I would tape it on my stereo. But buying cassettes, I used to just buy records and then later CDs, but I had very few cassettes. For some reason, I had Bark at the Moon on cassette, and I never got into it. I would say I've always thought 3 great songs, and there's only 8 songs on this album, and the other 5, honestly, when I listened to this, a couple of weeks ago for the first time, I recognized all the song titles, but there were, I guess, 3 great songs, one that I knew but I didn't like. You can maybe kind of put this together. And then the other 4 that when I looked at them on the record, I thought, okay, I know the title. I know he has a song called this and this and this and this. But I had no idea how they went. They were like completely foreign songs to me. So when I listened to it a couple of weeks ago, these songs, I listened to the whole thing. I was like, okay, Bark at the Moon. Yeah, I know that. And then I heard these other 4 songs. I thought, what is this song called? I actually had to check what it was called or what they were called. I had no, musically, lyrically, nothing. There was nothing about 4 of these songs that caught my attention. I thought, yeah, this is kind of how I remember this album, just being pretty much unforgettable. And it's considered, and I thought, I know now, and I would say this is Ozzy's last classic album. I said that a couple of weeks ago with Motorhead 1916. That it was their last classic album. That doesn't mean that it's their last album that I liked or that was good or even great, but for me it was the last album that Ozzy did, that he was Ozzy, that he was, the madman is back, he was the Prince of Darkness, and you had this, idea that he really was this crazy, it wasn't just an act. And then after that, I guess starting with Ultimate Sin, and, continuing after that, No Rest for the Wicked and No More Tears. I don't care about his music, I'm just saying that I think the whole image of Ozzy and the perception that people have had of Ozzy changed after Bark the Moon. This is when he was still like, Ozzy, man, what a nut this guy is. And Ozzy, I should say also, he's one of my favorite people ever, especially back then. Because like Paranoid was maybe the first record I ever got outside of Kiss. It was either Paranoid or Back in Black, I'm not sure which. So I got those around the same time. And so, as a Black Sabbath fan and then an Ozzy fan, and seeing Ozzy as my first concert, and hearing all the stories about him, he got arrested in Salt Lake City, and the Alamo, and the dove, and the bat, and the pig, and I think he did something possibly with a kangaroo, and maybe even a capybara in South America. I'm not sure about that last one, but he did something to all these animals at some point. And just hearing these stories when you're 12, 13, 14 years old, it's pretty cool. Now I don't know if after that, if it's that I kind of lost that association with him because I got older and started to realize, okay, it's just a gimmick, or maybe he did change. But for me, Bark the Moon is the last real classic Ozzy album, and I don't even like it that much, but I still can say it is a classic. It is I would say the golden era of Ozzy. But there, and looking at it now, or listening to it recently, I only realized this like a couple of weeks ago, and I listened to it for the first time in ages, decades probably, since I listened to the first record. It is logical now that The Ultimate Sin came after that. This was, because The Ultimate Sin was, if you compare Diary of a Madman and The Ultimate Sin, huge difference. Ultimate Sin was way glossier, keyboards, and just the look was more glam, and I think the music was appropriate to the look, or suitable to the look. It wasn't, it didn't have that Ozzy feel like Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. And this album, Bark the Moon, it really does, I guess, bridges the two of them together. It connects them together. There are elements of this where you can go, yeah, and I didn't realize it back then. But when I listen to it now, because I'm a little bit smarter now, maybe a little bit than I was when I was 14, and I can see now that this was, I guess this was a logical album between Diary of a Madman and Ultimate Sin. Am I making sense? And now, in recent weeks that I've listened to it, I actually like it way better than I thought. When I first listened to it 2 weeks ago, or last week, whenever it was, I thought, yeah, this is largely forgettable. And I've listened to it a couple times since then, and I started to realize, these songs are, I didn't maybe give them a chance, but they're better than I remember. They're not as good, obviously, as Diary of a Madman. I'm not making comparisons, or Blizzard of Oz, but I know them better now, listening to them for the last week or two, than I did 40 years ago. All right. So I think that's all. I think now I can go through the record track by track and fill in the puzzles, fill in the gaps that you all might be wondering, which songs do I love and which song, you can probably guess. And which songs I just thought were, like, really? That's an Ozzy song? So let me open it up. All right. And you can see there's no hype stick or anything, so I can just be careless with this. Well, not too careless. And there's the album. The back of the album matches the shirt. There it is. And I did get this on CD many years later. All right, this actually looks like very cool packaging. What is this? Poster. Cool, I didn't know this came with the poster. There's another one that I can look at once and then fold it up and put it back in, never to be seen again. But it's, I don't know, it's kind of a nostalgic thing, I guess, to open it up and see a poster. All right, pretty cool. And the sleeve, the inner sleeve. Yeah, I remember this. All right, yeah, perfect. It's got the lyrics, easy to read, black on yellow. It's got the band there. Now, this was Jakey Lee, Bob Daisley, Tommy Aldridge, and Don Airey actually got a shot as a band member. And I guess it was so hard to, Ozzy, he had so many kind of ghost players, and, Diary of a Madman on the picture on the inside cover was Ozzy, Randy Rhoads, Tommy Aldridge, and Rudy Sarzo, but it wasn't Tommy Aldridge who played on it. It was Lee Kerslake, I think. And it wasn't Rudy Sarzo who played bass, it was Bob Daisley. But this one, and also on this tour, well, Carmine Appice or Appice, it's Vinny Appice, and I think Carmine Appice, they're brothers, but they have different pronunciation for their names. Yeah, Carmine Appice played drums in the Bark the Moon tour. But I'm pretty sure this was Tommy Aldridge actually playing drums. And you know what? I'll say also, this is one of the great bass albums ever. Whoever it is playing bass on this, I think it is Bob Daisley, and I think he wrote all the songs too. There was also some big, discrepancies about this was all credited to Ozzy, that he wrote all the songs, music and lyrics. And then, Bob Daisley and even Jakey Lee said, no, we wrote the songs, and Sharon Osbourne didn't want to give him credit. This is a really, really good bass album. If I forget to say it during some of the songs, there's great bass playing through this album. But I can't remember who was on drums when I saw him at that point. Maybe it was Carmine Appice. And I remember there was a quote from Ozzy saying he was asked after Carmine Appice had left and was replaced by, I can't remember who, maybe was it Randy Castillo at that point. Ozzy said something, I guess, kind of clever. He said, somebody asked him, why is Carmine Appice out of the band? And Ozzy said something like, it was because of an illness. And somebody said, oh, what do you mean? And Ozzy said, I was sick of him being in my band. Something like that. But anyway, so here it is. I'll go through this track by track. The first song, of course, is Bark the Moon. This is one of the three that I think is amazing. I love the song. Now, I did get tired of it. Back at the time, it was on all the time. Everywhere you turned on the radio or turned on videos, it was always playing. And I did get tired of it, but like some other songs, once you get away from it, you realize that's a great, great song. And Bark the Moon is a great, great song with two incredible solos. I've said many times, I don't really have in mind, like, these are the greatest solos ever, but when I listen to songs, I love this solo. And this one, Bark the Moon, the ooh yeah baby, the main solo after Ozzy cues it in with ooh yeah baby. And then what I like even better is the outro solo in the last I don't know, 30 or 40 seconds of that song. Jakey Lee is just wailing on his guitar. Love it. Yeah, and yeah, Bark the Moon is just an incredible song. Screams break the silence, waking for years and years, and probably even now, I still, when I sing that song, I always sing it as waiting from the dead of night. But I know it's waking from the dead of night, but it's just one of these mental things. Waking from the dead of night. Years spent in torment. Yeah, Bark the Moon is just an incredible song. Ow! And then that's how the second outro solo starts. Bark at the moon, and then that wailing solo. Yeah, man, Bark at the Moon is a great song. Next is You're No Different. I hated this song. I thought this song sucked at the time, and I still think it's a weird song to have as the second song on the album. It's kind of quiet, mellow, some keyboards. Are there strings on this one? I can't remember. But I just thought for the second song, it's a little bit strange. I actually, when I've listened to it in recent days or weeks, I think, this song is not so bad. Maybe if it had been somewhere else on the album or elsewhere even, maybe I would have enjoyed it more. But after Bark the Moon ends, you expect it to go into something a little bit more appropriate. Not You're No Different. You're no different to me. It's okay. Now, I like the song way, way more than I did 40 years ago, but it's all right. Next is Now You See It, Now You Don't. This is another one that I just had no memory of. When I listened to this record a week or two ago, I knew the song title, Now You See It, Now You Don't. But I was thinking, how does that song go? I couldn't remember the lyrics. I couldn't remember the music. And when I listened to it again, I thought, yeah, I understand why I don't remember that song. But having listened to it now several times in the last week or two, again, better than I remembered it. Next is short album, only 8 songs. So the last song on side 1 is Rock and Roll Rebel. Now you may have guessed, this is another one that I love, Rock and Roll Rebel. I think it's a great song, great riff. Jakey Lee, I'd say she's one of my, I don't have a list, but maybe he's in my, I think Eddie Van Halen and Ace Frehley are probably my top 2. There's no official ranking, but Dimebag I love. Jakey Lee is up there too. Maybe he's around my, if I were going to sit down and make a list, I would maybe have Jakey Lee at number 4. I love him even more, his playing with Badlands more than with Ozzy. Maybe he had to help hold back a little bit with Ozzy. But yeah, Rock and Roll Rebel is great, that great opening riff. And I especially used to like, I was 13 or 14 when this came out, and there's I guess it's the last line of the last chorus, the last verse. I'll give you no bullshit. I'll give you no bullshit, and I'll never pretend. I love that. Back then it was a big deal for artists to curse or to have swear words in their song. And being 13 or 14 and hearing I'll give you no bullshit and I'll never pretend, 'cause I'm a rock and roll rebel. Oh, I used to get very excited hearing I'll give you no bullshit and I'll never pretend. I thought, yeah, this guy's talking to me. Because I was a dumb 14-year-old and I liked bad words. But yeah, Rock and Roll Rebel, classic Ozzy song, love it. The second side, the opening of the second side is Center of Eternity. An all-time great Ozzy song, and the third of 3 that I loved. There's no present, there's no future. I don't even know about the past. It's all timeless and never ending. It's fast, it's up tempo. I love that intro. What is that? Probably guns. Nothing to worry about. I thought it was thunder. Whew. Thank God it's guns. Yeah, Center of Eternity. Great riffing, up tempo, fast, really rock song. The intro I was gonna say before the gunshots interrupted me. It's got that creepy organ music and the bell tolling for thee, gross bard. And it's just, it sets the mood great. Would have been a great live opener, I think, Center of Eternity. And I should say also, there are a lot of keyboards on this album, which maybe turned me off. And I'll talk about that when I get to it. That goes back to what I said earlier about this album, being the gap between Diary of a Madman and Ultimate Sin. And I don't always like keyboards. Sometimes I hate them. I hate them on Kiss. Turn on the night. I can't wait. When they just sound so happy and glossy and shiny and big and bright, I just hate them so much. If it's something like this, like an organ, I should say it's synthesizer I hate, not so much keyboards. Because this intro of Center of Eternity was organs, it's not keyboards like synthesizer. But yeah, there are some keyboards on this album that I think that was what turned me off a little bit. So that was Center of Eternity. Now the next song is So Tired. This one, there was a video for this too, and I hated that video so much, which I guess, visuals and how do you say it? Audibles? I don't know. They kind of go together, and that's why for years and years, it's probably been about 10 years, when bands now, when they release new music or a new single and they put out a video with it, or they call them visualizers now. About 10 years ago, I stopped watching that because I hated it. I found that I couldn't really separate. I thought I love that song, and then I realized, did I like the song, or was it because I liked the video, or vice versa? I hate the song, but maybe because the video is not so good. So now when I listen to music, if there's a video for it, I just put it on and I don't watch it. And I think the video for this song ruined, I think people from New York say ruined. I think it ruined my any chance I had of liking this song. Remember there's that I don't know what he was, like a Quasimodo hunchback or something in the video like this, with the bad teeth and everything, and Ozzy would sing, I am so tired, and then so tired, and there was the Quasimodo guy. God, I hated that so much. But yeah, listening to it now, and I listened to this recently, I think that song is actually not bad. It's not Little Dolls or anything, but it still is. Without the visuals, I liked So Tired much better than I did when I used to watch that stupid video in 1984. The next one is Slow Down. Now this is one, I kind of love and hate this song. I think overall it's a pretty good song, but I don't like, and this is another one that when I listened to it recently, I thought, this is one I remember, but I didn't really know how it went until I listened to it. Then I was reminded. And two things I don't like about this song. Overall, I do like it. It's a good rock song, but I hate the vocal melody. What's the first line? I'll never. What's it? What does he say there? I'll never bother keeping up. I'll never bother keeping up with you. Just that vocal melody, it just sounds too happy. The song is good. It's a good rock song, good riff. And then I'll never bother keeping up with you. And what I especially hate about the song, and still hate about it now, is the chorus, slow down, which is okay. You're moving way too fast. And then those notes, the keyboards or the synthesizer. Oh, it's so bad. The chorus is just so happy sounding and just soft and not what I want from Ozzy, especially back then. Slow down, you're moving way too fast. Slow down, you're at last. Really don't like it, and same with the vocal melody. But overall, I kind of like that song. So I'm kind of mixed on that one. Now there's a one-man band. I can see this guy. I don't know if the microphone is picking up. I see this guy about once a month. He's got a snare drum over his shoulder like this, and he hits the snare drum while he plays the trumpet. He's outside my house now. So is it the last song? Waiting for Darkness, right? Waiting for Darkness. This is another one that when I saw the title, I thought, yeah, Waiting for Darkness. I remember the last song on Bark the Moon was Waiting for Darkness, but how does it go? And it was another one that I couldn't remember the lyrics, I couldn't remember the melody, I couldn't remember the music, anything. I really like this song. It's far better than what I thought. Yeah, good song. I think it has a good Ozzy vibe or an Ozzy attitude to it. So that's it. Now there was a song, I know on the, they reissued this, I don't know when. There was a bonus song called Spiders in the Night, which I like that song too. It's a good song. I think it I don't know why they left it off, because sometimes the B-sides from albums, it was maybe one that didn't quite fit because it was a different style from the rest of the album. Sometimes it was a space issue that it was just would have made the album too long. But this album, I think, is only probably 37, 38, 39 minutes. They could have put Spiders or Spiders in the Night on it. I think it would have been a good second song instead of You're No Different. Yeah, but for whatever reason it's on there. But oh, and Slow Down also is the one that has a really, really good bass throughout it. That's another good thing about Slow Down. So that's it. There is Ozzy, Bark at the Moon, and my first concert ever. 40 years. It's been 40 years since I've gone to a concert, and I don't think anybody's ever going to see Ozzy live again. I just feel like Ozzy has probably played his last concert. I just don't see him. You know, maybe he'll come out for some weird. I shouldn't say weird. So, you know, some one-off thing if they play at the Super Bowl or Black Sabbath. I mean. Or if there's maybe his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, maybe he'll play a song or two. I think there's no way, it's impossible that he's going to do a proper tour again. I don't even think he'll do an actual full show again. Remember, he had to cancel the Power Trip show in September last year. He was replaced by Judas Priest. I think Ozzy just can't do it anymore. But one of my favorite people ever in the music industry, as a musician, for me as a fan, especially as a kid, Ozzy was great. And it's been 40 years since I saw my first concert, and I guess around 40 years since I've listened to this, I guess, let's say, classic album. This is Ozzy, Bark at the Moon. Oh, yes.